Welcome to another edition of Action 14. I'm Mike Briggs. We'll be bringing you information from the city, the school, and of course the arts. We're starting things out tonight with Mayor Pullman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be on TV 14 and talk with you and our viewers out there and let them know what's going on.
Yeah, I think probably we could start out with some things that are happening. There's a lot of streets I can't drive down right now. And the city activities, maybe you can update it on how things are going with that.
Well, I have a good report for once because the Smith Street project, which is $1 million plus, we're doing sewer laterals, street improvement, utility improvement, and of course we're saving money by tearing everything up all at the same time. It's ahead of schedule. The weather's cooperated, and I'll take credit for the weather. No, I won't. But it's really working out well. They got started early as we had hoped. And now if people say, well, gee, nothing's going on. Well, that's right. Not much is going on because we have a built-in pause to the contractor so that the residents, and there's 12 or 14 that are taking advantage of our interest-free loan program through the city to change out their laterals to the house and do away with some of the lead problems that exist, unfortunately, in the city and in our older parts of the city. So they're pausing right now so that the homeowners and the plumbers can get caught up with their work, and then they'll get back into the process very shortly. But we never know what we're going to find in some of our older parts of the city. 70 years ago, they did things a little differently than they do today. And when they encounter those, fortunately, the contractor and our city director, Austin, jump in, make decisions, and they keep the process going.
This is an opportunity for those 12 to 14 residents to take care of lead problems on their own property.
Correct.
I think it's important to understand that the city can't go on private property. We're allowing these residents to contact plumbers independently and take care of those issues.
That's correct. And of course, it's an unexpected expense to the homeowners, but yet we can save them several $1,000s by coordinating that work with our contractor. And that's what we've done. And then through the city, we've created a interest-free loan program to allow them to have these dollars available to do it, rather than have to put that burden on them. And so we've created a loan program within the city to allow that, and that's part of what we feel our responsibility is as a community to the homeowners, and to upgrade everything at the same time. So it's a very worthwhile program, and we're glad that so many have decided to participate in that once again this year.
You know, after a year and a half, it feels like things are starting to look more normal. We've got light at the end of the tunnel if we're careful. And we have more activities happening back in downtown Plymouth.
It is, and our campaign to shop local, I think, has really helped out, and the Chamber has publicized it well, and I think you've even done it on TV 14, and that's appreciated because the merchants have struggled, as we know, for a long time now, well past a year, and fortunately they're surviving, but they need to have us as customers come in, whether it's retail or restaurant, to continue the support so that they survive and we have that opportunity for us. And it is, people are really responding, and I'm glad to see that the mask requirement as of this week now, last week we've we've lifted the mask requirement, and I think people are ready to get out and participate again,
Yep.
once again in the community.
Yeah, you've opened up the city facilities also now are
Correct.
open for visitors.
Yep, everything is wide open. We're scheduling nonprofits to come in and use the different city facilities. The only one that's a little bit lagging right now is the library, and that's an entirely different situation, a little more compact, and so they're going to put out some initiatives that they work with through the Library Association statewide, and that's good for them because they know their customers best. And but they'll be coming along very shortly with us, and with school letting out very soon, they always get an increase in participation at the library, which is a good thing, and we don't want to discourage that.
Right,
so
right.
they're going to work up a process that will aid them serve their customers the best that they know how.
Yes, I'm looking forward to going back to the library to read my morning paper, et cetera, and I'm one of those that likes to actually hold a paper. And
We're old-fashioned.
yeah, and turn a few pages.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that the library can open very shortly.
Yep, they're definitely going to do it, and we don't have a date yet, but I suspect it's going to be June.
Yeah. But things are opening up, and at the same time, things are happening in Plymouth again. We're starting to plan a few things. Let's first talk about some additions to our downtown community. The first one being the kayak and canoe.
Yeah, the kayak launch was a private initiative that was done through the Plymouth Mill Pond Association, which is a very dedicated group of people that also put the fountain in the mill pond, and now they've worked with the school system,
Right.
locating the kayak launch on school property just to the north of the youth center, and they've been working 3 years to get that fundraising up, to get grants from the county and different conservation groups, and then of course get it installed and everything, and that's going to be a really great opportunity for people to use the mill pond and have access to it. It's by the way, it's a handicap kayak launch.
And it's open to the public.
And is open to the public.
It's right in between the youth center and Riverview Middle School.
Correct, yep. And there's a lot of area down there for parking, and of course, you know, when people are loading, unloading their kayaks and stuff like that. So we're very fortunate to have that unique location and accessibility. So this summer, I think we're going to see a lot of kayakers just kind of meandering around the mill pond, and that's good. That's what it should be used for.
And of course, you can't miss it now driving down through downtown Plymouth. The arch is up. The Cheese Capital Arch looks beautiful. I'm not sure it's going to bring in more clientele, but it certainly makes us proud of downtown Plymouth.
It really brings back a historical perspective to Cheeseville, Plymouth, and certainly that, again, another private group of people got together and looked at what can we do to improve the quality and the beauty of the community. And yes, we cooperated with them through the city and different things, but once again, they went out and, you know, they raised a lot of money themselves to do this.
Anyone who's critical should understand that you did not pay for any of this.
That's correct.
It was simply volunteers and donations that put this together, many from the cheese companies.
Oh, absolutely.
And because the cheese capital is what it's all about. So you did not pay for any of this.
That's
It
correct.
is simply a different organization took care of all of it.
And, you know, a lot of this comes through the people side in the community that have good ideas that don't necessarily have to go through government all the time. And we created the redevelopment authority about 7, 8 years ago now. And out of the growth out of that, which was the cheese counter was our first project. And out of that, these other ideas have started to mushroom. And some of the people in that group participated in this. So it's really exciting to see people take a vested interest in the community. And the Arches is exactly one of those many things.
And other things coming back, I know we have the Festival of Music down at Stayer Park. That's going to be June 26th, so we're going to have some music in downtown.
And that's what the renovation in Stair Park, Lions Park was all about. So it's good to see that happen after we completed that almost 2 years ago now. Then we had a year of COVID. In a way, it's like, okay, the delay was there to help us plan. And you're right, June is going to be a kickoff. We're going to have activity down there. It doesn't matter spring, summer, winter, fall. There are kids down there, people are down there, the dog park is down there. We are really, really seeing some of the fruits of planning 7 and 8 years ago now take place. It's a tremendous, tremendous shot in the arm for us, and people are using it. We're getting known throughout the county and beyond the county. So it's going to be an interesting summer of activity, no doubt about it.
Again, the Cheese Capital Family Music Festival is June 26th, going from 3 to 9 p.m. And then the Mill Street Festival is coming back July 10th. After a year of emptiness, we're going to get the Mill Street Festival.
I can't wait for it. Personally, I try to spend the whole day down there because you see people you haven't seen for maybe a year or two. Now it's 2 or 3 years. You get the food of your choice, so you really get to sample different things, and it is just a great opportunity to get out and enjoy. We already ordered good weather, so you can just put that in your calendar. It's going to be good weather on that day, and it's one of those summer events that's become a real tradition in Plymouth, and we're so happy to have them back.
That's right. That's going to be July 10th.
July 10th, correct.
And after we had to put it off a year, but the Wall Dogs are coming August 25th through the 28th.
So we've got June, we've got July, and then August. We're getting 4 more murals downtown, and there's pre-planning going on already. But that's going to be another good time to get out and see activity in downtown. And I think that'll put us upwards around 26 or 27 murals, which is most anywhere in the country. It's fantastic. We're restoring a couple that have had some wear and tear on them, and so they'll be doing that work as well. But this is something that, again, isn't costing the city and the taxpayers anything. This is volunteer group, organized, funded, and put this together. Does it take cooperation and approval from the city on different things? And the answer is yes. Just like a parade, we have to approve the parade permit. But that's part of the technical side of things. The organization, the effort put into it, the money put into it, that's all private citizens that want Plymouth to be a showcase, and we're very, very happy to have that participation.
Yep. Oh, let's go back to something that might be a little scary for our community. I've some sources have told me that you're going to be reevaluating my house and determining what my house is worth, and I think everybody agrees, probably a bit more than is on the record now.
Well, we did find out last month that when we had our Board of Review, that we officially are in default of state statutes that require a certain level of assessed value for real estate tax property rolls. And we're at 82%, so it made it, our default became immediate, not down the road a couple of years. A lot of technical comments there, but we already figured this was going to happen last year. We've talked about it in the budget process. We've done forward projections and allocating dollars for this. It's not cheap. It's going to run the city probably $25,000. It doesn't happen every year,
Right.
probably every 9 or 10 years. But the good news of that is we're bringing a lot of new properties on the tax rolls. We're bringing a lot of increased value. The turnover now in some cases is less than a week when people put their homes up for sale. And Plymouth is getting to be known as a very good community, safe community, growing community. And the good news here is that when we bring these values in the revaluation, yes, there'll be a few homes that will go up in value and a slight increase in property tax assessment. But across the board, because we increase our baseline,
Right.
and that's the important thing in the mathematical calculation, that when we increase the baseline, actual property taxes could go down for a significant number of our real estate property owners, even though the assessed value goes up, because we're increasing that baseline. And that's really a nice timing to happen, because of course we all pay taxes that pay for the bills of the city.
Yep.
And who wants to have higher taxes? We've been very fortunate. We don't have a final number yet. That'll probably come out in August when we get the assessment officially from the state. But we're looking at several $million increase, and that helps our base calculation. And then in 2 years, when we close TIF 4, that'll bring in significant, we're talking in excess of 120 million manufacturing dollar assessment into the formula. It's going to be a real shot in the arm for the community. And this has taken a long time to bring this about. But some of the dollars, like we talked about before, for the lead loan program that we're initiating, those dollars were created through some of the efforts that we made through our TIF program.
Right.
So we're restructuring and making things available to the community that haven't been there before 10, 20, 30 years ago. So we're using a lot of opportunities, and then of course the timing to do this is working out very well for us.
Lastly, do you have an update on the stimulus package number 3 from Washington? Have you got some news there?
Well, I'm afraid to answer your question because your sources are better than mine sometimes. But you were very up on the revaluation, and I'm glad to explain that. And we did have a meeting here in May to work with our county executives, our other municipal leaders throughout the entire county, and our elected officials in trying to structure a priority need for the community. And as bad as COVID was, it has brought to the forefront the need for broadband and internet access.
Right.
And I don't think we could have a better answer to COVID than broadband, internet, and federal and state funding. We all found, even with the schools, the need for internet.
Certainly.
And to have that ability to use and keep education going, we do the same thing. And we've talked for a long time to supply this type of quality service to help grow business in the community. And we feel that this will be a very good opportunity for us to do that. And we do it through our city-owned electric utility.
Right.
Our electric utility stretches 34 miles. If you look to the northeast to Johnsonville, for instance, and then you go all the way down to the southwest part of the county, town of Scott, and you've got the federal prison facility. So we stretch a long way, kind of like an hourglass, and we're in the middle of it, the hub, so we're the hub city. But that gives us a tremendous outreach that covers a huge territory, not just the city of Plymouth. So our electric utility has responsibility to its customers. And this ties in perfectly with some of the events that are taking place in Washington and Madison, making some of these funds available, which is critical to our growth as much as, say, Highway 23, for instance.
That's right.
Or our lead abatement program. These are all pieces of that pie that we're trying to definitely raise the level of awareness and participation. Mike, it's happening. We are getting inquiries, and
Good.
hopefully we'll have more to report in the next several months. But
Good,
it's
good.
very encouraging.
Well, I think
Very
it is
happy.
encouraging because if we can get broadband internet access to everyone in the county, or get close.
Close to it. Yeah.
And then at the same time, Highway 23 gets us to Fond du Lac a lot easier. I think we're going to see some growth.
We're at the crossroads, and I can tell you inquiries are coming in. And that has not happened for probably 5-6 years. So we're very excited about what's on the horizon, and I think that all of the things that are being done in conjunction and partnering with all the different groups that are part of this, it's a true feeling of community pride. And we're seeing it in the cheese capital of the world.
Yeah, in the cheese capital. Now, before we close, as we move forward, are we getting closer to having our city council meetings in the normal chamber?
And the answer is yes.
Good.
I'm very, very happy to say yes. We're going back to the chamber, and we will now be side by each with everybody, and we still have available the virtual for if some people are uncomfortable, but we want the public to come in, view us in person instead of on the web.
Yep.
And be part of and learn some of the things that are coming forward, which we have public hearings. We're required to do that. I think that people will be pleasantly surprised in the next couple months at some of the things that are coming forward. The timing couldn't be better to have the public participate in this. And I really think that we're stepping off, coming out of COVID like never before.
Yeah, so we can expect to use the chamber for your next city council meeting?
Correct.
Okay, so you're moving back to the old home.
We're back in our comfortable quarters of the council chambers that was designed back in the 30s.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's a beautiful place to be, and we're glad to be back in there where we don't have the sound bouncing off of the
Right.
corners of
Yeah.
the assembly hall and every place else. It's driving us all crazy. But
Well, good, I'm glad you're coming back. And I should mention to our audience that that you have your meetings are the second and last Tuesday of every month, and you've moved it up to
7 o'clock.
7 PM.
7 p.m.
So be part of it. Go down to City Hall to the old chambers now, and at 7 PM on
Third floor.
on the third floor, the second and last Tuesday of every month at 7
Correct.
PM.
Thank you.
Be part of what's happening in the city. I want to thank you for being
You're
here.
welcome. Appreciate it.
And when we come back, we'll have some information from the school, and also then we have some art activities coming up. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. Very good.
Good.
Welcome back to Action 14. I have with me now Superintendent of the Plymouth School District, Dan Mello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
It's been a very interesting year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite a year. There's been a lot of stress, but a lot of success too. So
Yeah.
sometimes you learn from when you're working real hard to overcome some
Right.
obstacles.
Let's start out first, though, by talking about you had election of officers, and I think it's good, it is nice to mention that having a solid group of people that care about the district and care about the community on your school board.
Right. A lot of people don't know that, but the schools are public schools are run by elected officials. I mean, there is a school board that oversees and sets the high-level goals for the district, and that's the school board, and they're elected officials, so they represent the citizenry of the community. And our board elected officers again this last go-around in our meeting, and the same board president is returning, the same vice president, and so when you have a stable school board that's been working together for quite a while and understands both each other and the community, and they come from all different areas in the community, you can have a really good representation from the community, and I think they can make wise decisions and do a really good job, because school districts really do function better when the school board is strong and unified, and some stability helps too.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that that's all working out, and I know you had a legislative update.
Yep.
All, again, rather positive.
Yeah, we're the point of the county superintendent's meeting with our legislators is to understand and question each other about what's happening down in Madison, and they're coming back because they're representing our area, and they're wondering about how schools are going in our area. And in the state budget, the school portion is quite sizable. So it has a lot of impact around all kinds of issues in the state. And so it's an important thing for our legislators to understand what our needs are, what our kids' needs are, what our community's needs are, and vice versa. It's important for us to understand what kind of parameters and politics
Sure.
that they're working through. And currently, there is some federal money coming into states and townships and cities and communities and school districts from something called the CARES Act, which is it's just federal money to offset expenses for COVID that might have been incurred. So typically by now there have been more movement in this biennium on where we would be for this next school year's budget. But right now, neither the governor or the legislator, opposite parties, are kind of wanting to put their cards on the table
Right.
clearly to indicate where they would like to go with funding for next year. So, of course, the superintendents are saying, we would like to know where we stand.
Absolutely.
We'd like to advocate. Many of the districts in our area are what are called low revenue districts, because we get less revenue from the state than the state average significantly. Plymouth is a low revenue district and has been since 1993, probably before that. So we get less than our fair share from the state. And so we're advocating for a low revenue district bump, which we've been getting these last few years, which has been very helpful to get us a little bit more, a little closer to the average, but nowhere near your suburban Milwaukee school districts that are getting huge amount of dollars compared to what we do. So we advocate for those types of things with our legislators, and they kind of try to understand those things, and then they ask for our opinions about other things too. So
It's always important to be able to share your needs and their needs, et cetera, to hopefully work things out.
yeah, what do they call it? They call politics making the sausage.
Yep.
And like making the sausage, a lot of times you don't want to know what goes into it, but hopefully it tastes great on a sandwich later on.
Now, one of the things that was large at this meeting is that you had public input. And our viewers should understand that you always could have public input. If someone wants to speak to the board, they come early, they sign on a sheet that they would like to have their 2 minutes to explain a few things. And you had 8 or 9 this last month.
Correct. Just like you said, there's always, in our regular board meeting, there's always a period of public participation, and during which somebody could come and speak about an issue. Typically, those issues are on the agenda, something that would be addressed and people would like their opinions heard about an issue.
But you should understand that it's not going, they speak for their time frame. You will not ask them questions. They will not ask you questions. They simply are giving you the information that they want you to hear.
Correct. These are statutorily and policy described board meeting procedures.
Right, Robert's Rule of Order.
Right, and so they have an opportunity to speak, share their opinions, share their thoughts. The board respectfully listens, takes notes. The board can ask clarifying questions, but it isn't a period for debate and back and forth, but just to respectfully understand each other's opinions about things. Yeah, and so in this case, there were a couple of different topics, but the main topic was about one portion of our mitigation process that's been going on all school year, and we're all familiar with it now. It's the wearing of masks as part of our ability to keep kids from getting quarantined as a close contact for COVID.
Right.
And there's a school of thought out there that is against wearing masks, and they have some facts that they bring to the table to describe, and they have some strong feelings about masks, and the board listened to those, and ultimately they made a decision that although there are some in the community that would rather have us be done with the masks, that they would just like to finish out the school year in the same program that we've had all year. We started the school year kind of not knowing and spreading kids out and trying to socially distance and doing our best to just try to keep kids in school so we didn't have to go back to large portions of our school, of our students being virtual.
And I think you spoke, after you listened to the input, you spoke to all the different positive things that Plymouth School District has been able to do this year that would be envious of many schools surrounding us. We were able to have many different items and complete athletics, complete meetings, and some of the statistics are just fantastic.
Right. We've been tracking our COVID cases and everything this year too. That all of our illness cases because we're just interested to find out what's happened. So, as an example, throughout the course of this school year, we've had 2.5 people per positive case of COVID. That could be an adult or a student that were actually had to be quarantined because they would have been listed as a close contact in the school. So it's possible and it happened in many other school districts because they didn't do all the mitigation factors that we did. Almost everybody masked, but not everybody had the kids into cohort groups, small groups, or spread out far enough, or the plexiglass shields in classrooms, and our air handling system going on full blast the entire year long to move that air. And so what that did was it allowed us to have, if there was a kid that was positive, there was a much lower likelihood that a bunch of other kids would be quarantined because of that student. So in some districts around us, if there was a kid that was positive in a class, typically that whole class was out for 12 days.
Yes.
For us, it was different numbers and different sizes, but for us it was it was an average of 2.5. Now, in the 4K, where we weren't able to have, we didn't have masks all the time, we were much more together. It's a lot harder to keep those little ones from playing and being together. So in the 4K is where we did have some classes that had to be completely quarantined, and it was because we didn't have the full gamut of mitigation strategies at our disposal. And so I think we tried to do our best in, offering kids some time without masks, outside when they're at recess, and maybe keeping them socially distant, especially during those times when the spikes were high in November and December. And indoors, trying to keep, remind the kids their masks come down. When you chew gum, your masks come down, and all those things were happening. And so all that played into how many kids were actually quarantined per event. But according to our nurses, there isn't any other school district that had as low as a 2.5 person per positive case quarantine rate. So that was fantastic, and that's a big kudo to them. Another one that's interesting is, with all of the mitigation factors that we had going on this year, there were some questions about, okay, the kids went home and they were quarantined. How many kids? We had 766 instances where somebody had to be quarantined. That could have been the same kid more than once, or it could have been somebody for 3 days, it could have been somebody for 12 days. But 766 incidences of individual quarantines. Even with all those incidences of quarantines, our absentee rate, for example, at the high school this last year, to date, was 97.2%.
Wow.
The last 10 years, the average for our high school has been 93.5%. So it's COVID. Our kids miss less school on average than in the last 10-year time frame average.
Right.
So something is working. If it's the distancing, if it's masking, if it's cleaning ourselves, if it's our parents as great partners with us, keeping kids home when they're feeling sick. A big plus this year with all the technology, thanks to Mike and Kurt Zolt and others in our technology office, we have the technology to still be able to broadcast our classroom to that student who might be perfectly feeling healthy but is quarantined at home. So that doesn't count as an absence for that kid, but he's still learning and he's still sitting watching his classmates but able to participate.
The pressure was on many times. We should compliment our teaching staff, because consider teaching to the students that are sitting in desks, and it's only at the high school level, it was only half the students in my class. The other half are watching on Zoom, on television, on their laptop. And so the teacher had not only to keep in touch with the students sitting in the classroom, but also keep in touch with those students that are connecting virtually. That had to be so tough, and our staff did a nice job.
And it wasn't always predictable, because you'd have one day where there would be 2 of your kids would be quarantined, and now they've got a stretch of 6 days, say, because of how the timing fell. Well, then in the end of that 6 days, one of them may have had a re-exposure. So you're planning for them to be back, and now I've got another 6 days with that student. And knowing exactly who you were going to be teaching to and who, virtually,
Right.
and then knowing who was going to be sitting in front of you was, until about 2 months ago, it was variability all day, every day for lots and lots of teachers in our district. So absolutely kudos to them for the flexibility and the perseverance that they showed in understanding that everybody was struggling with this whole thing.
Now, even through that struggle, you had numbers involving how our students did. Our students were successful, whether they were home, whether they were here, whether they were virtual, 100% virtual, we had success.
Right, we're currently in the last couple of weeks of our final assessment that we use kind of to monitor student progress across many different grades in the district. And what those assessments so far are showing is that on average, our kids have grown that requisite year's worth of growth in this year. Now, to be fair, we do have some more significant gaps among some kids. So some kids who struggled in this environment, there were stressors on everybody,
Right.
and stressors on families. And there are some places where we do have some work to do, and we're trying to address that. We're having COVID catch-up in summer that we're making available to kids and families to help them maybe catch up if they didn't quite keep up during their school year. But on average, which every year you look at an average, our kids grew fairly typically compared to a normal year. So again, kudos to the kids and families and to the parents.
It's been a very struggling year for the administration, for our staff, for our parents, for our students, but we gathered together and I think did a nice job of working together.
I think so too. And even with, there are some frustrations about masking and some other aspects of the whole program, but I think it's and I totally understand it. I don't know about you, but I'm about done with masks as well, and with all the rest of it. I would like to be completely normal, and that is our goal. And we've said that in the board meeting, is we really want to, as knock on wood, as things progress, and it seems like county health organizations and the CDC and our local data are all pointing in the right direction.
Right.
And so we want to get back to normal as safely as possible, as quickly as possible. So stay tuned.
That's right. Stay tuned. Let's also talk about some things coming up, because summer school is just around the corner.
Right. Summer school starts, well, we're not done with this school year yet, but summer school starts on the 21st of June. And we have a fairly typical set of options for families and kids. Right now, we're trying to do as much as possible of our summer school out of doors, because we can socially distance, we can enjoy the outdoors, and we think that's a really good option for people. But we're working so that we can set up our classrooms so that we can have enough space in classrooms so that they can spread out and everything, and that should be good. And we'll have that other portion, which is COVID catch-up, which families are being reached out to, and kids are, to see if they would like to take advantage of those options. So yeah, it's almost here.
Yep, it is. Let's talk about some of the accomplishments to wrap things up, because I know middle school track has been very successful in terms of how many are participating and in how many are doing very well.
Right. There's a new thing in middle school track. It's middle school track now has a state tournament.
Yep.
And this only started 2 years ago. It was the beginning of it. And so 2 years ago, we had one track, I think I'm getting these dates right. We had one track athlete in the middle school who went to state and participated and finished very high, I think, in both the 100 and 200. Well, this year in the middle school, we have 16 athletes going.
Right.
And we have 8 boys and 8 girls, and they have a number of different events. So it's been a goal of the district to make sure we have extracurricular options for our youth. In lower grades too, not just at the high school. I mean, all the way down to our little ski clubs in elementary.
Right,
So
right.
it's kind of nice for them to have that option. So yeah, we're excited that we have that opportunity for kids.
And we have so many things happening. Again, looking like we're getting back to some base of normal because the shows are happening, whether it's a jazz in the park, whether it's
Yep.
other shows, things are happening.
Yeah, the student performances and here in our auditorium, over at Riverview, some outside, some in gyms, but they're happening. And families can come and they can see their kids sing and play their instruments and perform in different ways. So, I mean, that's wonderful. And we also had, which was canceled last year, there's a state competition in culinary arts.
Yep.
And it's called Whipping Up Wellness, and it's kind of like Top Shelf, where they get a couple of ingredients and they have to cook something. They get some parameters, and they have to cook something that is both healthy and delicious. And this year, we had a duo from Plymouth win state.
Yep.
So congratulations to them.
Right. And let's wrap things up about talking about, we had our senior scholarship night. Can you imagine $1.3 million in scholarships to our students?
It's fantastic, isn't it?
It is unbelievable.
We have our Plymouth Education Foundation, always a plug to them. They one of their big roles is to provide scholarships. They weren't all of the scholarships, but they were a major portion, and there are
More
a lot
than
of kids.
50,000
Yeah.
just from the Plymouth Education Foundation.
So if you're looking to donate, the Plymouth Education Foundation is always willing to receive.
And we should mention that the Kohler Scholarship was also won by a Plymouth student, Olivia Straub. That was a $50,000 scholarship from the Ruth D. Young Kohler Scholarship for Artistic Excellence.
Right. I mean, how fantastic is that? And it's always a big thing when somebody from our school wins that scholarship. And so it's really cool to see that it came back where it belongs, home of the Panthers.
That's right. And then do not want to forget that we had 57 students receive a scholarship from the Volk Memorial.
Right. And
57 students.
that is such a great scholarship because what the kids have, it encourages kids to be involved in many things. If you have a certain grade point average and you've been in 10 activities through the school district, you automatically get that scholarship.
Right.
So you get kids trying different activities. So maybe a sports kid wants to try the musical, or a musical kid wants to try a sport or something else, or Panther Pride Club, you know, all that kind of stuff. It helps kids expand a little bit.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for being on. I want to remind everybody that the school board meetings are the third Tuesday of every month, starting at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the amphitheater at Plymouth High School.
Correct.
Be there, be part of the action. Well, thank you again for being on. When we come
Thanks,
back,
Mike.
we're going to talk arts. So stay right with us. You're watching Action 14. Welcome back to Action 14. As promised, we're going to be talking about the arts. I have Rosalia Johnson, and I also have Bridget Zenk with me tonight. And for the first time, we have very young co-directors of what we want to talk about, and that is Mill Street Live. First of all, tell me a little bit about you.
Well,
You're from Plymouth.
I am. I
Yeah.
graduated last year, so this is like my first time like really being back in the school, which is kind of fun.
And you're going to college at Edgewood, is that correct?
Correct.
That's in
Yep.
Madison.
Yep, for music education. So Yeah.
And you're interested in music because you were in many music activities here.
Yeah, and I've just always been involved in this stuff in Plymouth, so it's good, yeah.
And Bridget, you're from Hilbert?
So I'm from Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Okay,
Yes.
from Sheboygan.
Yeah.
And you currently are,
I'm a sophomore, just graduated sophomore year at University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.
and you're both back here to entertain our public.
We are.
Um, You have been, tell me first of all, what does it take to be a director?
Well, in the first week of rehearsals, I've learned that you definitely have to have a good balance of communication with your cast members. And there's just a lot of planning that goes into it, which I didn't really realize. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, all the different aspects of planning that we just never had to deal with as performers, such as, who's doing choreography, cutting all of the tracks, blending them all so that they fit in our time frame, dealing with payroll, all of that stuff. We just never had to deal with that before.
But we are practicing now. The show consists, if I'm correct, 5 girls, 4 boys doing songs and music from the 60s to current country western, rock and roll, the whole. How do you pick the song?
We just get like a huge list of songs that we're like, oh, this would be good for the show. And then we kind of just pick from there. We style the show by decades. So like we start with current and then like 80s, 70s, 60s. So we just try and pick close to an even amount for each section and then just
Okay.
build
But
it.
now it's not just singing. You have a choreographer. You have dancing going on.
Yes, absolutely. And we choreograph ourselves too for this show. So we have a whole slew of people who are choreographing for us, and a lot of our rehearsal time is dedicated to drilling that choreography and learning it and learning how to dance at the same time as singing and having good breath support and being able to sustain both.
So there's a bit of not only practice to learn the words, but practice to get your body and your lungs ready to do this, eh?
Absolutely.
A lot of cardio training too.
Good, good. We should mention that everything starts up. The first Friday is June 25th, 13 seasons of Mill Street Live, and we're starting up on June 25th, and it will be every Friday through, I think the last one is August 6th. So every Friday, after the fish fry, we're going to go there and watch, right?
Absolutely, that's the plan.
Yeah.
What time do things start up on Fridays?
Show starts at 7:30. I believe doors open at 7. We're super excited for shows.
They
Yeah.
go about 2 hours till 9:30. So.
About 2-hour show, and when you are performing, I think everyone needs to know that a live performance, pick more than one Friday night, because it changes week to week. You know that.
Especially,
Yeah.
The biggest thing is especially from the first show to the last show, it's crazy how just people are more comfortable with the show and we just kind of like relax into it more and have a bit more fun. So, every show is good, but definitely the last show is
So fun.
Yeah.
And since it's live performance, everyone adds their own little spin each show, so it's a little different every time you see it. It's really fun.
Now, I know that you're getting closer to the cast members every practice. How many of them did you know before you started?
Ooh, collectively, I think we knew everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't each know everyone right away.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to get to know people.
And understand their strengths, their weaknesses.
Absolutely.
That takes some time.
a little bit.
And voice range and where all those things fit together. So.
Yeah.
But we should mention that when things start up on June 25th, you should get your tickets in advance. You can call down 892-8409, 892-8409. You could go to PlymouthArts.org and order tickets that way. But the best way is to go down. There's a
Yeah.
show going on right now, Alive in the Arts, where there are 57 members of the art people in the area, all with their different items on the wall and on the tables. So come down there and see what's happening, buy your tickets, buy a couple gifts at the gift shop, and then you're ready for Friday night.
Absolutely.
Now, when you prepare for a Friday night, let's go to the 25th, your first show. All right, you're going to get there at 5 o'clock, and you're going to gather together and practice a bit before also.
Yeah,
Yes.
we usually will run any like numbers that we know have a little problems, or just ones that might have lifts or more difficult choreo or something. And then we usually run the first like 2 to 3 numbers of the show just to get in the mindset of, okay, we're starting a show now. And then once doors are open, we go back and we all just like finish getting ready for the
Okay.
show. And then
But on June 25th, every Friday, so your weekends are spoken for. Every Friday you have an activity, and then you practice when?
once we start doing shows, we practice, it depends, maybe once or twice a week,
Okay.
just to be like, hey, this is what we should work on for next week's show.
There you go. Now, everybody is very close to Plymouth. I see some Sheboygan, I see some other areas, Kohler maybe, Kiel.
Yep.
But these are local talent.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to see someone that who and what. No, this is local talent from the Sheboygan County area. And I know you're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Get that first show. It's every Friday night starting the 25th. Stop down at the Arts Center and buy yourself some tickets. Also, 892-8409 if you want to order them. And when you think about paying $13 for an adult to see a show, if you've ever been to Broadway, you're going to pay 10 times that
Easily.
Yeah.
to see a show. And you don't know the people performing. Here you know the local talent doing a job for you. So I can't thank you enough for putting in the time to help the Plymouth Arts Center. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on, and good luck on the stage. I will be down there 1 or 2 of those Friday nights, and I'll just wave in the corner, okay?
Can't wait to see you. Thanks.
But thank you for being with us.
Of course, thank you.
And thank you all for watching. I want to mention before we go that happy birthday goes out to a person who sold 125 million records globally, the only songwriter to receive a Nobel Prize in Literature. Yes, a happy birthday to Robert Zimmerman. You may know him as Bob Dylan. He is 80 years old today. Happy birthday to him. Until next time, I'll be seeing you on the radio. Bye-bye.